Hello, I'm Roxanne Hoffman, and I'm a poet and publisher residing in Hoboken, New Jersey. And I'm delighted and honored that the Hoboken Public Library has asked me to share some of my poems with you today in celebration of National Poetry Month. I'm going to start with a favorite of mine as a way of introducing myself. The title of this poem is Flora Selva, and it was originally published in the Riverside Poetry Workshop Poems, Volume 8. Flora Selva. Hidden in my hand is a rose in bloom that is my mom. Flora Selva is her middle name, flower of the jungle. She took a cutting of herself and planted me in between the cracks of concrete called New York, where I grew wild and thorny, a prickly thing that did not bloom. A man came by. He gently pulled me out and planted me in the soft, cool earth of a large clay pot to take me to his garden state so I could flourish and bloom. Hidden in my hand is a rose in bud about to bloom. That rose is me, Flor del Concreto, flower of the concrete. The Hoboken Library asked me to read some springtime poems, but to introduce them, I'm going to start with winter. That's going to be the next piece. And winter is a titled form, known as the Ethery, which was created by an Arkansas poet named Ethery Taylor Armstrong. She lived between 1918 and 1994. An Ethery is a 10-lined, unmetered, unrhymed poem in which each line follows a syllabic count that matches the line number. The first line has 1 syllable, the second line has 2 syllables, the third line has 3 syllables, up to the last and 10th line, which has 10 syllables. Here we go with winter. Winter, wind howling like the dog, teeth bared to bite, limbs and ribbed trunk gone. As the bare trees shiver, it races across the field, chasing a hare for its dinner, till the white fur disappears in snow, then whines for the low gray sky forgiveness. The next poem is going to be Persephone's Dream. Persephone, as you know, is the Greek goddess of spring, the queen of the underworld, and wife of the god Hades. This poem is a modern variation of the Italian or Petrarchan sonnet, perfected by the Italian poet Petrarch, and it divides 14 lines into 2 sections, an 8-line stanza or octave, rhyming, typically A, BBA, A, BBA, and a 6-line stanza or sestet, rhyming CD, 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 or CDE, CDE. This is a variation. The first and the last lines are 4 syllables each. The other lines are each 8 syllables. The rhyming scheme is A, B, A, B, B, A, B, A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And the volta, which is the Italian word for turn or transition, is delayed until the top of the sestet. Persephone's Dream. A dream haunts me, silent, stealth-like, winter enters. Spine, frozen ice, I cannot flee. Spying me helpless, he ventures. His breath glazes lakes to mirrors, turning crystal each bare limb tree. My muffled cries, snow's kiss censures. A soft white blanket covers me. Passion's pyre dispels my terrors. Nights linger, days glimmer, slenders, until love's furnace melts me free. Sweet, sweated from ardor's pleasures, and with spring's thaw, life re-enters and flaunts dream free. Persephone's Dream was first published in Dark-Eyed Glasses. The editor is Garth von Boschholtz, and it appeared in the premiere issue in 2010. So the next poem is a fun poem. It's a fun form. It's called a form is an apicedarian, and it's basically an alphabetical excursion. Each line of the poem begins with a different letter of the alphabet, following the alphabet in order from A to Z. And it can be one word per line or multiple words for the same, starting with the same letter. Okay. This poem is titled 6 More Weeks, and it first appeared in the New Verse News in 2012. The editor of that publication is James Penney. Here we go with 6 More Weeks. 6 more weeks. Awake, anxious, burrowed below, curious critter, doubtful, dutiful emerges, eyes furtively facing grayness groundside. Harbinger hunched, instinctively intuits, jowly, judges kingdom keenly. Legendary litmus. Maybe. No. Not. Uh-oh. Procrastinator's proclamation. Quivering, quixotic. Regards, retreats, sunshine's shadow seen. Tanking temperatures unrelenting. Underground. Vernal vibrancy waits. Wintering yogi yawns. Zoned. The next poem is titled Spring Parade, and it is another ethery like winter. Spring Parade. Streets festooned with blossoms, dogwood, cherry, crabapple, and pear. Birds strike up the band from trees swathed like cotton candy until the rain dashes petals to carpet wet concrete and asphalt. Pastel confetti for paws to trample. Up next is a red feather song, and this is rhyming couplets. And a red feather song originally appeared in Danse Macabre, number 23, titled, this was an issue that was titled, A Night at the Opera, Une Nuit à l'Opera. Here goes with a red feather song, and I should warn you that this is actually going to be sung. It's set to music. A red feather song. Locked in a frame, a red feather swings, of early bird worms, of beating wings. A sweet, darling tan bit of fluff, a sugar plum kiss off the cuff. Dear, 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 what, chippity chip. Here, 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 nut, 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 a dewdrop sip. A flash of red coming into view, of speckled eggs attended by 2. Crested I stand, ready to rebuff and defend my turf from a rival's guff. Locked in a frame, a red feather sings, of lifetime to her apron strings. Free as a bird, no more than any man. A chirp from her, hey, you do what you can. Dear, 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 what, chippity chip. Here, 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 nut, 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 a dewdrop sip. The next poem is The Fruit Tree. The Fruit Tree first appeared in Mobius, the poetry magazine, the 2009 issue, edited by Juanita Torrance Thompson. and was then later reprinted in the Rutherford Red Wheelbarrow Poets Anthology, Volume 2, edited by Jim Klein. So here we go with the fruit tree. The fruit tree. The tree that bore the fruit. The worm that bore a hole in the bark of the tree and made his home there, nestled snugly in its shade. The man that picked the fruit of the tree and gave it to his wife to bake into pies. She, the woman who picked him and bore his child. They too left their mark in the bark of the tree, carving their initials there. They're the pair that planted the tree and therefore claimed it theirs. But the earth and the sky are the ones that nurtured it, made it grow strong and ripe with pears. The next poem is a fib, named after, it's a form actually titled Fib, named after the Italian mathematician Fibonacci from the Republic of Pisa. And he lived circa 1170 to circa 1250 during the Middle Ages. And the number of syllables in each consecutive line of a fib follows the Fibonacci sequence, where each consecutive number is the sum of the previous two numbers. Sequence 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. 0 and 1 is 1, 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8. Okay, etc., etc. Here is a fib swallowtail butterfly, the last 5 lines mirroring the first in syllable count. It is also a graphic poem, its shape mimicking that of the 2 women dancing the tango, facing each other, taking turns leading, with hands clutched out to the side. The 2 long lines in the middle of the poem form the hand side of the tango embrace. And I'm going to hold this up so you can get an idea of what this looks like. Okay. Here we go. Saltitos del corazón otra vez. Little skips of the heart again. 2 friends, women, slow tango, in step with their hearts, rejoice in lives shared, children raised. Divorced, widowed, they glide store aisles, feather empty nests, as pregnant daughter comes home. And this appeared in the Fib Review, which publishes fibs, and this was in issue number 4. Now, of course, we can't omit the English or Shakespearean sonnet, 14 lines, 3 quatrains, and a concluding couplet. Following the rhyming scheme AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, G, G. With a volta, remember the Italian word for turn, just before the closing couplet. This variation deviates from the traditional rhyming scheme and uses AA, BB, CD, CD, EE, FF, GG. The title of the poem is Choosing, and originally appeared in Sliver of Stone in the inaugural edition in 2010. Choosing. A random stone sits upon the dresser. Green slate, culled from walks along the river. Its striated shades as varied as the sea. Fern from forest, olive drab of army, new buds sprouting sunshine among the trees. This silent charm once sang me sweetest psalm. Now locks down papers from a window's breeze, warmed by your touch It served as healing balm, quieting my ache when placed on bruising knee, encircled by slim fingers that once blessed me. Its mood has changed, its master shaman gone, from vibrant voice to murky and withdrawn. And yet, I cherish its dirgeless, wordless mourn, admire its resignation to a blind God's scorn. I'm going to follow that sonnet with another Shakespearean sonnet, and this is titled, To My Widow. To my widow. Brenda, my love, have you missed me? Or has another found you free and filled the void of my absence with his constant charming presence? Buzzing your petals like this bee, intoxicated by fragrance, unable to pull himself free, lost in moment, losing balance, tugged as if by your gravity, his will weakened before beauty, to find exquisite sustenance, sweet solace in your briefest glance, bowed before his new deity, like me, subject to your pity. The next poem is titled Even the Smallest Child, and Even the Smallest Child is a modern variation of the ghazal, a Persian form, a type of amatory poem or ode expressing the pain of loss or separation and the beauty of love despite that pain. Typically, it consists of at least 5 couplets or shares, and usually no more than 15 couplets or shares. Each share ends with a repeating refrain or radif. Here, the refrain that you will hear is without our saying. Every couplet will end with without our saying. The radif is immediately preceded by words or phrases with the same end rhyme called the qafiyah. Here, you will hear knows, grows, glows, crows, etc. So every stanza you're going to hear that repeated rhyme, and that's going to be followed by the radif, or repeating refrain. The closing share is typically more personal than the rest and often includes the author's name. The deviation in this modern version is that there will be one additional line after the final share, and that line will be I love you. We also have 18 shares. The regret is the passing of each season and the inconsistency or fickleness of love. While the cyclical passing of the seasons is consistent and automatic, love is not constant and must be constantly encouraged and nurtured. Even the Smallest Child originally appeared in Lucid Rhythms and was published in 2009. I'm going to start with a quotation and then go right into the poem. Okay, so this is a quotation of lyrics by Bob Merrill, and it comes from Love Makes the World Go Round, which was from the musical Carnival. High in some silent sky, love sings a silver song, making the earth whirl softly. Love makes the world go round. Here we go. Even the smallest child. Even the smallest child knows without our saying that uncut the grass, the green grass, grows without our saying. The warm, bright summer sun glows without our saying. The red rooster wakes and crows without our saying. The old river ebbs and flows without our saying. The bee buzzes by the rose without our saying. Its leaves crunch beneath our toes without our saying. Its acorns the gray squirrel stows without our saying. When the cold northern wind blows without our saying, in their caves the black bears doze without our saying. The bleak gray winter sky snows without our saying. Last winter the boat pond froze without our saying. Spring arrives, the hard ground thaws without our saying. Shoots sprout, trees bud, their sap flows without our saying. Mother Nature's green thumb shows without our saying. Each new season comes and goes without our saying, but love never ever grows without our saying, I love you. And we have another Ethery titled May Day. May Day, the second May Day is actually one word. So it's a different meaning than May 1st or May Day. This is more like Mayhem May Day. Okay. And May Day originally appeared in S.P. Quill, Volume 6, Number 2, or simply Issue Number 22. Okay, here we go with May Day. Chance meeting on Broadway. Two ex-lovers chat up blue sky days. Their eyes dodging contact. Check for wedding bands on bare hands, kept a safe distance apart. Till out pours her heart in red-faced sobs, and with a thunderclap, the rains come down. And I should just want to point out that the rains here is actually spelt not like the rain that comes down from the sky, but Reigens. Okay. And we have two more pieces to go in this segment. The next piece is a little bit longer than the others, and it is free verse. And the title of this piece is The Burden of the Body, and it is a sort of resurrection, so I think it's kind of appropriate for the spring. The burden of the body. He asked what it meant to wake up in a dream, arms covered with tattoos, bright and colorful, elaborately decorated with flowers and birds. Palm leaves and parrots reminiscent of a painting by Frida Kahlo. All manner of flora and fauna on toned, muscular arms, the tanned arms of a youth, rough-hewn and rippling, like those of a construction worker or a common-day laborer. A childhood stutterer, afraid of his father's bad temper, he spent his youth studying words, a scholar of language, enlisted into an army's Cold War, on a radio hammering out messages. Middle years managing others' careers instead of his own. Till finally this life of a hermit, whittling down to almost ascetic. 8 or so daily cigarettes, twice a day coffee, a bite of bittersweet chocolate, his only visible visceral vices. This man, who had spent so much time out of touch and in conflict with his body, 3 times at death's door, unaware of the internal wound in his gut, perhaps self-inflicted, like a yogi's intentional self-kill of a vital organ, to welcome it back renewed and reborn. His life bled away till replenished by 4 pints of blood donated by strangers. Arms now attached to lifelines dripping iron. Perhaps one of his saviors was this strapping, dark-maned youth with tattoos. Or maybe he himself was now finally celebrating his body, adoring it with adornment embracing the cacophony of color alive all around him. His heart once again pumping iron-rich blood through his veins, carrying the oxygen inhaled so essential to nourish his spirit. His mind's operation entwined with each breath. He said he woke up happy and rested. His only concern was that they would not allow a tattooed man a Jewish burial. But then he woke, remembering he'd asked to be cremated, so that at last he would be freed of this burden, freed of his body, resurrected as spirit. And I'm going to close this segment with another abecedarian. And this one is also a graphic poem. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. As you see, it's winding. And it's called Bottom of the Ninth A to Z. And it originally appeared in Dinner with the Muse, the anthology of the Green Pavilion Poetry Event, edited by Evie Ivy, Ray's Press in 2009. Here we go. Bottom of the ninth, A to Z. Angled bunt careens dizzily, evading fielder's glove. Hustling infield jugglers, Klutzlock. Minus needed out. Pitcher quits. Runners stampede triumphant. Underdogs victorious. Words, X-rated, yield, zip. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this segment. And I'd like to wish you all a very happy National Poetry Month. Thank you very much for listening.